Okay then, welcome to a video helping you with grade 6 ABRSM theory, and particularly the first question on grade 6 paper. Now this question here dates from 1998, but the question style hasn't changed. So you're getting 15 marks for indicating suitable chords to accompany a melody. You can write down Roman numerals to indicate the chords that you think you'd use, or you could write down actual notes on the stave. It says in the question only do one of these methods, but for now we're going to do both, so you can practice doing both. Just good practice. The reason why these questions haven't changed in style over years and years is because they are testing fundamental things to do with the writing of harmony, which hasn't really changed over hundreds of years. So I can't see this question style changing anytime soon. So what I'll do just to start with, which of course you don't get in the exam, is I'll play through the melody so you can hear what melody you're trying to harmonise. So you've got you might recognise that, it's actually Joy to the World, A Christmas Carol. So the first thing that you'd do is you'd work out what key the music's in. This is obviously D major, starts in a D, two sharps, no accidentals, ends on a D. Then what you'd do is you'd write out the Roman numerals of the key of D major, and then you'd write out the triads like I've done here. What you'll notice is that this is similar to an exercise that you did in the grade 5 paper where you had to label chords. However, what I've done here is I've written out a Roman numeral for every note in the scale. Why are some in capitals and some in small letters? It's to do with whether it's a major triad or a minor triad. What also applied at grade 5 does apply here as well. There is a hierarchy of importance of chords within these 7 here. Chord 1 being the most important, followed by 5, followed by 2 and 4, and then 3, 6 and 7 probably not going to use, maybe 6. But you're probably going to steer away from 3 and steer away from 7, certainly for now. Why with a 7? Well, that means as in the 7th of the chord. So in a chord of A major, which is chord 5 in D, you'd write out the triad A, C sharp, E, and then you'd add the note G above it, which gives you an extra richness to the harmony. And that's a really common thing that's done on chord 5 and also on chord 2. So that's why they're there in brackets. Okay, now what you do first of all is work out in the music where the cadences are. So obviously there's a cadence at the end, and usually there's a cadence point in the middle as well. Why would you do that? Well, it's because cadences are a known quantity. If you remember, your 4 cadences, perfect, imperfect, plagal and interrupted, use certain combinations of chords. So that's going to help you know what Roman numerals might possibly work here. Usually I'd always try perfect cadence first to see if that fits, and if it doesn't, I'd then look at the others. So what I'm going to do is I'm then going to work out what cadence would fit at the end of the music. So we're finishing on a D, it's in D major, so we're obviously going to finish with chord 1. And then testing my theory from before, I think that we're probably going to finish with a perfect cadence here. C sharp is the leading note of the scale, leads onto the tonic, and it is part of the dominant chord. Okay, so there you can see the C sharp in the dominant chord, so we're going to go 5 to 1. Here, this is the other cadence point, the halfway point of the phrase, and again I'm going to go chord 1 there, D major, it's got a D in it's the tonic chord, and then I'm going to go 5 again here. So I've written 2 perfect cadences, 5, 1 and 5, 1. Okay, now what am I going to do next? I'm going to consider the other notes and try and find best fit chords. There's a couple of probably fairly straightforward things you can do. At the start, that is going to be chord 1. Okay. Then you've got to look for other things that are going to fit best. Also, you've got to decide, do I give a little quaver note its own chord, or do I just give it the same chord as before? Probably like you would here. This C sharp here doesn't need its own chord when you've got the C sharp there with a Roman numeral 5. So what else could we consider? Well, let's work backwards from this end cadence. We've got a B here. B appears in chord 2, it appears in chord 4, and it appears in chord 6. And you're thinking, well, which do I pick? Well, you start by thinking which of those chords is the most likely. In the hierarchy of harmony, 2 and 4 are definitely more likely to appear than 6. So I'm going to go for 4. How do I know whether that's right or not? Well, it's a mixture of first of all, I could try it to see if it sounds okay, or you can rely on the experience that you've picked up about music, and that's where at first this will be hard work. Let me play you the melody from here to the end. We've got, and with my harmony suggested, we'd end up with. Sounds pretty good to me. Okay, I'm going to come back to this quaver in a minute. Working backwards here, F sharp, chord 3, no, don't want that one. Chord 6, possibly, unlikely, but chord 1, much more likely. Okay, again, I'm going to miss out the quaver G and I'm going to consider the A. Well, I've got 1 and 5, and again 3. So 3's out the window. I'm going to go chord 1. Now you'll be thinking, well, hang on a minute, he's already used chord 1. What? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times? Yep, I have. And I've just said 2 or 3 times already, chord 1's the most important chord, therefore you want to see it used the most in the harmony. I promise you it'll sound fine using it this many times. You start to try and use a whole range of wacky chords, it'll sound rubbish. And then that means that in between these I'm going to go chord 5. Okay, so what we've got now is something that sounds like this. Have a little listen, see what you think. And actually that's quite plain harmony, but it's perfectly acceptable. It really is, it's absolutely fine. How could he make it slightly more exciting though? Well, what you could do is you could use some inversions. So this is where you're using a 1B or a 5C or one of those inversions. So if you remember, when you invert a chord, what you do is you take its root position shape. In this case, I'm looking at chord 1. We've got D, F sharp, A. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the D out of the way, leaving F sharp as the bottom note. So that's what you'd be doing there. Why are they useful? Well, they're useful for a couple of reasons. First of all, to repeat the same Roman numeral one after another like that without any change of position is really, really boring. It's really poor. So what we could do is we could make this one 1B. So what that's going to do is when I harmonise and play the opening of this now, when I get to that A there, I'm not going to put a D in the bass, I'm going to play an F sharp in the bass. So we've got, and it just makes it more imaginative than that was root position 151. 151B. So I think that helps and makes it sound better. I still don't really like 1B to 1 though, and you could at that point think, well, okay, I don't want to repeat the same Roman numeral, I'm going to harmonise this this quaver here, and again I'm just keeping it nice and simple. I'm going to go for chord 4. Okay, so now I've got this. Notice I slightly played it a little bit awkwardly, partly because I'm not very good, but also partly because going from 4 to 1 there quickly is awkward. So let me try it again. How can I smooth that out? Well, what I can do is I can try another inversion here, and again this is where I'm using my musical experience. One thing that we'll learn over time is that not only are the cadences fixed, there are also certain chords that sound really good before certain cadences. And one C before a perfect cadence sounds really, really good. It works as a sort of lead up to the actual cadence itself. So it sounds slightly less clunky in this case than 1-5-1. Have a little listen now. First half sounding pretty good. Second half sounding slightly plain. So I'm going to look to do a couple of things. I'm going to look to repeat the same idea here, give this quaver a chord, and I'm going to go 1B. And then here I'm going to make chord 5 more interesting by making it 5-7. So now we've got and that sounds better again. What else could you do? You could substitute chord 2 for chord 4 in there. You could, let's try that, and then we'll try one more thing. What you can also do is you could have chord 5 there and introduce the 7th just on the last quaver. Likewise, you could do the same here. Introduce 2-7 on the last quaver. Okay, so let me see if I'll actually play this. So that's how you've put your Roman numerals in. Quick recap. Start with the cadences and think about standard cadence shapes, trying chords, trying a perfect cadence first. If that doesn't work, try at the end, try a plagal one instead. In the middle, try a plagal one or try an imperfect one. I don't think you'll get interrupted at grade 6 level. After that, then work backwards from the cadence. Try and get the Roman numerals in first, remembering to use chord 1 more than any other, followed by chord 5. Then after that, watch that you don't have Roman numerals one after the other that are the same Roman numeral. And then, if you can help it, try and add in 1 or 2 inversions, or maybe a 7th or 2 just to make it sound slightly more interesting. So that's how you do that bit. Okay, so having had our Roman numerals in before, what I've done is I moved them underneath the bass, and what I've actually then done is I've actually harmonised them using notes. So you'll notice from the question it says that you write either Roman numerals or you write notes in the stave, but only use one of these methods. But I really do think at first it's not a bad idea to try and do both. So how have I decided exactly where to put the notes? Well, I'm assuming that this is going to be played on the piano keyboard, so what I've done is followed a couple of simple rules about writing for the piano. One is that you don't overweight the left hand. What you don't want are thick triads in the left hand to accompany a melody in the right hand. You want to try and keep the chords either quite thick in the right hand with just a single bass note in the left hand, or you could spread the notes evenly across both hands. But you'll notice that at no point have I put 3 notes in the left hand with only 1 note in the right hand. I've either gone 2 or 3 in the right hand with 1 in the left hand, like there, or I've gone 2 plus 2. The reason I've done this here particularly is because the right hand is low in pitch, which means that it squeezes the hands closer together, so it means your spacing is slightly different. So let me play what I've written there. I don't think that sounds too bad. Let me indicate what would happen if you put a very heavy left hand part in. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play the melody on its own. I'm going to put all of the chord into the left hand. It sounds something like this. I might not be able to play it very well, but we'll see. Sorry about the splodge in the middle there. It wouldn't be a Moxon video without the splodge. You could hear it doesn't sound very good really. There's just not a very good balance between the two hands. It's too bass heavy. So you've just got to try and see if you can pop the notes in the right place. Be really careful with your bass clef reading, don't misread the notes. When you've done all of that and you could then play it through, you might consider any alterations. Just because you think the sound of it's a little bit funny. I don't like this chord 2 here. It sounds a bit odd. Let me just play you for chord 1, 1B and 2. We've got, I don't like that sound. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this one to chord 4. And then let me just change the Roman numeral as well. I think this sounds loads better. So slightly smooth the sound in the left hand, it sounds less clunky. So here we go, with our alteration to that chord, here is our final harmonised version. I don't think that sounds too bad at all. I don't see that losing many marks out of 15. Anyway, you could try and use this method now to have a go at your own harmonies, and then write them out in pencil, for goodness sake. Don't forget to write out your triads beforehand, work out your key carefully beforehand, and then take a photo and email it through to me. Alright then, cheers folks, bye.